Good morning, and I want to welcome you to today's class of Institute for Higher Consciousness. And I appreciate every last one of you that are here with us on this morning. Today, I wanted to talk about divine birthing. Divine birthing. And I felt that it was appropriate for me to come here on today because we are in the process, even as we keep saying, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. I want you to also be in tune with the reality that as it's happening, then the earth and creation is groaning and birthing something. But this groaning is not the same groaning of travail of the how long before it happens. This is the actual birthing process. It's like you can have those false labor pains that jump in and take charge, and it's like, oh my God, I'm just absolutely positively in pain, but still no baby. I had a couple of friends that as they were coming to term, one in particular, I don't know how many times I ended up taking her to the hospital, but it was not the actual time for the delivery. But the day came when yes, it was in fact delivery time. And it was so funny because let me tell you, even in that situation where she kept having the false labor would happen. They'd hold her for X amount of time. And she was even dilating, but the baby didn't come. But that last time, I feel something. The thought ran through my mind. That last time she went in and they called me, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, is this it? Or is this another false labor? But suddenly, that's what ran through my mind. And suddenly, before I could even get there, that baby was here. And I want you to understand that is some of what's happening right now, whether you realize it or not. That's some of what is happening right now in the earth, where in all reality, the things that are getting ready to happen are going to be and suddenly. Now, as we talk about divine birthing, the reason why I thought it was appropriate to come here on today was because some of you may be going through that process of, and I'm not even going to say some of you may be. Let me just go ahead and say, we are going through the process as it's happening. We keep saying that it's happening. We are going through the process of divine birthing. Now, I wanted to come here and I want you to, be clear on what I'm sharing here with that time of birthing. And for any of the mothers here that can recall, and probably some of the fathers here that remember your loved ones as they were birthing, this is a time where if you are able to recall, somebody's on, can I get somebody to go on mute? If you can recall a time when there was the season of birthing forth, before you got to that, do you remember when there was a space and place of where it seemed like your hormones were just going crazy? Your hormones were just off the chains, and you started feeling everything, and everything was very, very sensitive, and everything was very high level. And this is where I want us to understand, some of you are going through some emotional spaces and places right now where spiritually and emotionally you're finding yourself really, really charged, really, really heightened in your alertness, really, really heightened in your emotions, really, really heightened in what's going on inside of you as you're walking out this day-to-day process. And it's like, man, what's going on with me? What is wrong? And it's not even necessarily that something is wrong. It's about this divine birthing that I want you to understand that we are in as we're walking this out. So you're going to begin to experience such a heightened level, because those, as with the mother when she's about to birth, those I say hormones are moaning. Those hormones that allows your body to go through the necessary changes to prepare for birth and bring that baby forth. Those are all in high gear. That's the time that they show up and they show out. They are the star of the show. The hormones that begin to prepare the body for the whole process. So I want us to understand, as your spiritual hormones, if I can put it that way, if I can describe it in that way, when your hormones in the spirit realize that it's time for you to birth this thing forth. And again, it's happening. We're talking about divine birthing right now. Your spiritual hormones likewise are on high alert because they realize they are the center of attraction right now. They understand that it's necessary that right now in this process, right now in this cycle of life, it's time for them to do what they were created to do. That high alert is where you are spiritually. And so I wanted to talk about this again because I want you to be clear. It's not like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Oh my God, what's going on? You know, almost as if something is wrong. No, something is right. You're giving birth to something. Something is right. So with that, I wanted to address a few things, just as when that baby's head begins to crown and that labor, that pain, that travail gets so intense. Some of you can identify that the journey that you are on right now, that labor, that travail, that heightened state right now for you is so sensitive. And even if I come from this angle, if you stop and think about it, you know, that can be the time, because everything is on such high alert and you're in that pain of travail. That can be the place where, listen, don't touch me, because the sensitivity of my skin to your touch is just, oh my God, don't touch me. Don't look at me. Please turn the noise off. That sensitivity is so high with all of your senses, all that smell. It's like, during pregnancy, some of you all may have had that situation where you couldn't stand certain smells because that smell would just send you into orbit, because your senses of your nose were so keen to fragrances and odors and aromas, because all of those senses are on high alert. That's what I want you to understand about where we are in this spiritual divine birthing. So be prepared. There's nothing wrong with you. And I'm going to keep underscoring that there's nothing wrong with you, because sometimes it's like, oh man, you looking around and like, is it me? Is it just me? Is it just me? No, it's not just you. All of us that are in this space and place of birthing this divine thing that God has reserved for this hour, for such a time as this, we're all feeling that. So as we come into that place of understanding, when you push and the head comes out, when you push and the body comes out, when you push and evacuate that baby, there are lots of other things, that are evacuated also. It's not uncommon for there to be feces released and evacuated at that time. Fecal material may come out as well, because when you're pushing, you're just pushing everything out. So I want you to understand this. Why spiritual thought leader going here? Because I want you to understand that even as you're looking around in your present life, it may seem like you're evacuating some of everything, and some of it may be like, that ain't the baby. No, but it's coming out with the baby. You understand what I'm saying? That's not the baby, but at the end of the day, it's coming out with the baby, because as you push, everything that's in there is coming out. if that makes sense to you. So as you're in this space of divine birthing, don't be surprised if you look around and coming out with your baby and coming out of you. I'm not talking about coming out of somebody else. Coming out of you is fecal material. And you're like, oh my God, I thought I was here, but I'm way back there because I'm looking and I see fecal material. I smell fecal material. That whole element involved and engaged with the delivery of your baby, if you don't understand it for what it is, can become very confusing. And so, yes, it's going to come out. It's going to be there, but understand that as the baby has been delivered, all of that is going to be washed away. There may have been some urine that came out. All of that's going to be washed away. Any kind of waste, all of that's going to be washed away. And then I also want to come here that umbilical is going to also need to be cut, because the purpose that it served and the season for which it served that purpose is now over. Now, so what I want to really kind of underscore here is, as we are in this divine birthing process, there are going to be things that, again, are going to now become waste. But even that umbilical that has fed you and kept you alive will no longer be essential. Even that umbilical is going to be cut. And that cut, anytime you cut, you're going to have a bloody place. It's going to be a place of pain. It's going to be a point of needing to be healed. But at the end of the day, it's no more in your life. It's no more. And so as you go through this process and understand the divine birthing that's happening, sometimes we don't want to release that umbilical. Sometimes we're confused by the waste that's also evacuated with that baby. But it's all a part of the process. And that's what I wanted to really talk about today and provide some clarity. I want to provide so that you don't have this place of anxiety, worry, tension, fear. Am I going backwards? Am I missing it? Why am I so on edge? Why the edginess right now when I feel like I was at and I'm in my greatest place? I'm flowing in boss energy. Why is there now a tremendous challenge of brown stuff that's challenging me? Why is all of this waste all around me? Why is this fecal material and urine all around me? Stuff that I otherwise would not lie in, stuff that otherwise I would go and I would dispose of it in the toilet and it wouldn't touch me, it wouldn't bother me. Now I'm lying here in the middle of it. I'm in this place of lying here and it's lying right here with me. I want you to be clear on what's going on and don't be discouraged. Now, I said this, and I'm finding it more and more, as I said on today on my post, Instagram and Facebook, in my 21,000 plus days of life, what I know right now is that, behold, there's before me an open door and an open heaven. But as I know there's an open door and an open heaven, I also know that umbilicals are being cut. I also know that there are those that walked with me in my yesterdays and my todays that cannot walk with me into my tomorrow. Hear me when I say that. There are those that walked with me in my yesterdays and my todays that will not be walking with me into my tomorrow. And that part, even as we start talking about whether it's the cutting of the umbilical or if it's the release of the waste material, if it's the release of the fecal material and the urine that has cycled through your body, that has cycled through your system and has now become waste to you and needs to be evacuated out into the draught. That right there is what I want you to pay attention to. You won't, in many instances, have to do the separating. If you've ever really had to go, and I first natural, then spiritual. So it may be like, spiritual thought leader, this story this morning and this direction that you're going with the Institute, do we really have to be as graphic and nasty? I want you to be clear and understand it. I want you to understand, if you've ever had waste material that has cycled through your body and you keep trying to hold it and you keep trying to hold it and you keep trying to hold it, there's something about the body system that it will eventually expel it from your system, whether you want to expel it or not. You understand what I'm saying? You keep holding that urine is going to get to a point. That waste material is going to get to a point. It's coming out like, what did we say? Ready or not, here I come. You hold that fecal material as long as you can. Eventually, it will evacuate itself with or without your permission. This time in this season right here, some of the people, and I want to equate this to people, some of the things that have been a part of your process, some of the things that have been a part of your life, some of the things that have been a part of what you normally have had in your life, done during your life, all of a sudden that's going to be waste material to you. And understand, in those instances, it's going to evacuate whether you want it to or not. Ready or not, here it comes. And it's going to come out in fecal material. It's going to come out in urine, and there you'll be lying in it. So that part right there are those that you're not even going to have to do anything. There are things that you're not going to have to do anything. It will just automatically evacuate from you. Then there is that process where you're going to have to cut the umbilical, because we're talking about divine birthing. You or someone, as a matter of fact, let me go here for just a moment, because I also want you to understand the power of spiritual doulas, the power of spiritual midwives. And I want to say this to some of you as you're listening to me and you're wondering, God, what is the next phase and journey of my life? You're going to, some of you, become spiritual doulas. Some of you are going to become spiritual midwives, if you understand what I'm saying. You're going to spiritually begin to help people deliver. You're going to begin to help people to birth. You're going to begin to have the position in that person's life that's struggling to bring life forth and birth what God gave them. You're going to be positioned to tell them when to push. You're going to be positioned to tell them when to breathe. You're going to be positioned to tell them when to hold it. Just try the best you can. Don't push right now. Don't push right now. You're going to be positioned to take the baby in your hands and put that baby's body, whether you're pulling out the head, whether you're taking the shoulders and adjusting the shoulders to get it through the birth canal. Some of you are going to find right now in this space, in this place, that God is positioning you to be able to be that spiritual doula and that spiritual midwife to those that are birthing forth. Now, even as I say that, let's be clear. Just like I talked about the body evacuating when that birthing is happening, to my spiritual midwives and to my spiritual medullas, when you find yourself switching into that position, you are going to get some fecal material and you are going to get some urine on you, because when all of that is taking place and that you're helping to birth forth is pushing and comes out, the baby also comes out some fecal material and some urine. And so you, as that midwife, you as that spiritual doula, that's where you're going to have to know how to handle the dirty stuff without becoming dirty yourself. Hear what I said. You're going to have to learn how to handle the dirty stuff without getting dirty yourself. So as you're standing there and this is where grace and mercy comes, and this is where grace and mercy comes from you as the midwife and you as the spiritual doula. You're not standing there judging the person that you're helping to birth because you see fecal material coming out. That's not your time to judge. You're not standing there judging because urine's coming out. Yes, that waste material is coming out, but you as the midwife and you as the medulla, or as the midwife and the doula, you have to understand and be very clear. My focus is the baby. My focus is that this baby shall be born healthy. This baby will not be aborted. This baby will not suck in and become contaminated and infected with all of the material that's coming out with the baby. So I'm going to know how to protect the baby and keep the baby from aspirating and sucking in and swallowing the fecal material and the urine that's coming out with it. I'm going to help to do that. I'm going to help to make sure the blood and the afterbirth. I'm going to make sure the placenta, because understand this, not only for the baby's purpose, but you need to get all the placenta out of the mother for the mother's well-being. You've got to get the placenta and the afterbirth out so the mother doesn't get sick and diseased and die. I had a cousin who, as I understand, they did not get all of the placenta out, and then not many days hence, she was deceased. So we understand that all of this is a part of the birthing process. So again, as that doula, as that spiritual doula, as that spiritual midwife, you've got to pay attention. You've got to make sure, do I have all the pieces of the sack? And sometimes it may be a matter of taking the sack after it's been evacuated and even put the sack back together to make sure all of it's there and there's not a piece of it missing, and then dispose of it appropriately, because at that point, that sack that has been a life factor for that baby is now becoming waste. So you've got to understand the need of seasons to transition from something that was necessary to something that has now become waste. That umbilical, something that was necessary now to something that has become waste. Then again, as you're there, understand there has to be that agreement and understanding by yourself and the person that you've helped deliver. I've got to take this umbilical and take a sharp object, and I've got to cut you. I've got to cut you. I've got to cut the baby right here. I've got to cut it. And yes, the baby's going to scream. Yes, the baby's going to holler. Yes, the baby's going to feel pain. Yes, the mother may in fact sense and be squeamish and regret hearing, this is my baby, this is my child that I carried all of this time, and now you're getting ready to cut my baby. It must be done, because that umbilical no longer is healthy for that baby to stay on there. The purpose is over. The season has ended. It now becomes waste, and it must be detached. So all of these things are going on. And then remember, the mother is still, we're still talking about hormones. The mother is still at a high level with hormones and everything else that the body has done to prepare it and go through the execution of that delivering. So now you still have that heightened sense of everything, but you have the blessing of the baby. And something about the blessing of the baby will allow you to forget so many things: the pain, the anguish, the emotions, the fear, the whatever that experience brought with it. Now, what you have before you is the beauty of this baby. what you have before you now is that you were, from the foundation of the world, designed to birth and bring forth. So as we understand it's happening, as we keep speaking, it's happening, we have to also stop and acknowledge in this divine birthing, it's happening. And with that comes the fecal material. With that comes the urine. With that comes the placenta. With that, any other afterbirth, any other fluids that were in that sac, all of the blood, all of the gore, all of that once was in your body system, it is now all evacuated out. And the only thing that's going to remain is the mother. And in this regard, there's no gender here because men are birthing in this hour too. So what remains is the mother and the baby and the doula or the midwife, and everything else is discarded. Everything else is discarded. So I'm sharing, I've found myself in a place where I'm thankful. I have a spiritual doula, a spiritual midwife that has been, and that's the thing about the midwife and the doula. They become very attentive to everything that's going on in that process. They become very attentive to everything so that if there's any emergency that's looming and lurking, they catch it. If there's anything that doesn't sound right, if there's anything that the mother in that time of delivery is expressing that would cause concern, that would be a signal that, hey, there's a problem here. This is not normal. This is not right. What do we need to do? How do we need to adjust? What needs to happen here? Because again, we shall not abort. It will not be stillborn. It will not be a stillbirth. It will come to fruition. It's going to come and be healthy. It's going to come and be provided for. For every vision comes a provision. It is going to accomplish that which God sent it forth to do without a doubt. So that being said, I'm going to begin to wrap this up because I think I'm coming to the end of my time before we need to reclaim the text. But I want you to be clear. We are definitely, as I understand, I'm under an open heaven, and behold, there's set before me an open door. This is the season and this is the time. It's happening. But I also want you to be clear on the fact that there's also going to be an evacuation of waste. And there's also going to be a shifting and a transition on what used to be versus what can now be, because all of that cannot come into your tomorrow. So I'm going to say that once more. And again, I'm going to open the floor to those of you all that are here in Discord. I appreciate those of you that have come on Twitch. Thank you for coming. This again is an open session. But I want you to understand the birthing that's going on right now. It's a divine birthing. There's a divine birthing on the land. It's not just us. And I was talking to someone on yesterday. I said, you know, it's not just an isolated small handful of people. We have not all networked together yet, but that's coming. This movement that's on the earth right now, that's in the earth right now, this movement, you're going to begin to see there were pockets of it here, there were pockets of it there were pockets of it everywhere, but they may not be joined together at this point. But as the movement grows, those elements are going to begin to come together and bond together. And that's going to be the strength that's going to create the change that we want to see and the change that we want to be. As we're growing, as we're birthing, as we're bringing forth for this purpose I was created, and we begin to walk in our created purposes with the babies that we are now carrying and nurturing, and they're going through the process of maturation. Yes, it may be a brand new baby right now, but we're taking care and nurturing it so that it can grow and it can be healthy and it can walk and talk on its own and eventually become a full-fledged adult that can make a change in this world. That's what we're doing right now. We're in that process, and eventually all of this is going to come together. So I just wanted to stop again because I felt it was time in this season to stop and address the divine birthing. It's a painful place. It's an emotionally heightened place. Those hormones are off the chain. Your senses are tremendously heightened. It can be a smelly, nasty place. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful place, because that's where the baby comes forth. And to all of you that will become spiritual doulas, to all of you that will become spiritual midwives, God bless you, because this is a powerful place to be. This is a powerful ministry to have. Don't take it lightly when God assigns to your hands to help other people deliver their babies. That is huge. So I want you to be clear. I want you to be committed. I want you to pay attention. That's one thing I do want to say. If you find yourself in that spiritual doula, in that spiritual midwife position, you cannot, I'm telling you, you cannot be willy-nilly and all over the board. You need to be alert. You need to be clear. Listen, that ain't no time to be in there sugarcoating nothing, baby. We trying to bring a baby into this world. And as they say, that place of birthing is as close as you can get to death. That place of birthing is as close as you can get to death. That's not the time to be trying to sugarcoat nothing and mamby-pamby and patty cake with nobody. Baby, it's serious business in there. It's serious business in there. So pay attention. Pay good attention to what you've been called to do and be committed to that.